Hey, what's up, everyone? My name is Trent. This is Rams Talk. Thank you for tuning in to my final LA Rams versus Green Bay Packers playoff preview. It's just this whole week I've just wanted to fast forward and get to tomorrow, Saturday, but we're almost there. I just want a big shout out to all the Rams fans and everyone who has subscribed to my channel of late. It's really kind of taken off, and I'm really loving the comments, and I just really appreciate all of you for joining the Rams Talk community. It means the world. Thank you so much. If you are a Rams fan and you haven't subscribed, please do so. It means the world to me to grow this community and to reach out to everyone there. So you can also find me on social media. All of my channel links are in my description below, and I'm very excited. In a few minutes, I'm going to have a guest on, Alex Basaraski from Basaraski Productions. He's a Green Bay Packers YouTuber. Does a lot of highlight reel stuff. Really good guy, knows his stuff, and I really want to drill down on the Packers defense because we're talking a lot about the Packers offense. So I really want to, kind of understand the defense a little better. I mean, we know Jair Alexander and Zadarius Smith and some of these guys, but I really want to take a deeper look at the Packers defense. And the more I think about this game, yes, it's Jared Goff. Yes, it's the thumb. Yes, it's him limiting turnovers. But I honestly feel what it all comes down to, there's all these stats about the red zone percentage, the third down percentage, the Rams defense being first in every single category. Aaron Rodgers having an MVP type season and all of his stats, and Devontae Adams. It's numbers. But what I felt before going into that Seattle game was who just came out more fired up, who had the juice, who had the swag. And when you look back at the mic'd up Rams game versus Seattle, the Rams came out and they had the fire. And do you remember that play where Cam Akers ran it and he kind of got stood up maybe 3 or 4 yards, and there was the big pile and they were pushing forward, right? So it was all going in the direction that Cam Akers was running, and Andrew Whitworth got in there at the end. And after they got an extra 5 or 6 yards, the Rams offensive linemen were fired up. And you also look back at other players in that game for the Rams. Aaron Donald was talking trash, and you look back and you're like, wow. When you hear the sounds of the game, you're like, the Rams had the juice. The Rams had the fire in that game, and I think it's which team really has that fire, especially in a cold game. Which team is coming out and dictating and asserting themselves? That's what the Rams defense wants, especially when they talk about I don't think it's so much for the Rams defense, what the other team is doing, and then they adjust to it. They assert themselves on the other team, and I think this game is it's incumbent on the Rams offensive line to assert itself. If they can give Goff time, and if they can open holes for Cam Akers, it's going to go their way. Conversely, if the Packers offensive line doesn't allow pressure on Aaron Rodgers, he could pick the Rams apart. So the Rams defense has to get to Rodgers. The Rams offensive line has to open holes for Cam Akers. We haven't talked much about Aaron Jones. It's like very quietly, I think he had the fourth most amount of yards in the NFL this year for running back, 11 touchdowns. A very, very good year for Aaron Jones. So, the Rams, it's not just Aaron Rodgers, it's Aaron Jones. And both teams really count on the play action pass for their offense. So whichever offensive line can open those holes and get the ground game going, then the play action pass opens up, and then the offense opens up. So it really comes down to the offensive line, and I think having Whitworth back is huge. We don't know about David Edwards. Bobby Evans might be in there. David Edwards and Cooper Kupp are questionable for this game. So that's going to be huge. So I don't want to take up any more time before we get to Basaraski, Alex, and his take on the game. So that's it. I won't see you until tomorrow, maybe post-game, not quite sure. But I feel good about this game. I feel the Rams I feel like they're just a little more sharp right now. I feel like they kind of have it. And I think Jared Goff is a little salty after everything that's happened. And I'm just hoping that turns into motivated Goff and not brain fart Goff. So anyways, enough of that. Let's hear what Alex has to say about the Green Bay Packers. Welcome, everyone. I'm here with Alex Basaraski from Basaraski Productions. He's a Green Bay Packers fan, and I met him on the Fan to Fan Network. Yep, there he is right there. So, yeah, good to talk to you. How are you?
How's it going, Trent? Thanks for having me. I'm doing well, just, getting really excited for this game. We just hit the under 24-hour mark, so the blood's pumping, the hype is rolling, and I'm just excited to get this game going, honestly.
Yeah, me too. It's just been – the anticipation is killing me. And how are you feeling about it? Just like nervous, confident? Where are you at?
Usually with playoffs like this, I'm really nervous because I get in the mindset that, Aaron Rodgers does all he can do, and then the defense does something that, ends up screwing him in the long run. And usually the Packers don't get to play an NFC championship in Green Bay. But if they win tomorrow, that's the first time Aaron Rodgers will be doing that. So I think this team has a little more steam than past seasons in the playoffs, especially last year. I think Aaron Rodgers is an all-time high. I think he's playing the best football he's played since 2011. I think he's at a whole new mindset. I think him and Matt LaFleur are meshing perfectly. I'm actually very optimistic about this game. The Rams' really, really good defense does worry me, but at the same time, I never like to bet against Aaron Rodgers.
Not even so you think betting against Jared Goff is the safer bet?
Yes, definitely. In a cold weather game, yes.
In game?
I saw some stats. I don't have them directly next to me, but he doesn't fare well in cold weather games. I saw.
Yeah, and I had seen those too, because there are two games that immediately come to mind. One is a Denver game in 2018 when they were like high power octane, and then the other game was the Bears game that year, obviously, when the Bears had the Fangio Staley defense. Yeah. But then I saw somewhere in 2017, I know that they played against Tennessee and New York on the East Coast, or like away in very cold games, and Jared Goff did extremely well in those games. But I mean, with a thumb, who knows? And this, I don't know. I mean, I think I would really like to talk to a doctor, but like, if you're injured, right, especially with the thumb, you ice it. But what if you're already out in like 25-degree weather? Doesn't just the air count as the ice, and your thumb is like perfect?
I wouldn't know. I mean, that's such a weird thing. And it's his throwing hand, right? Or is it the opposite? Because he hit it on the helmet. I think I saw that. That's what would worry me most. Yeah, he definitely was a trooper. I saw him and it's continued the game. So that was some Brett Favre vibes there.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. I'm not too well versed in the Packers defense. So like we all know about the high powered offense, you have play fantasy and the offensive line is great. But like aside from Jair Alexander, maybe Zadarius Smith, like why are the Packers, they're different from last year. Last year they got run out by the 49ers.
Yes.
What did they do, or can you tell me a little bit more about like other strengths or weakness or guys that we might not know?
Yeah, so a lot of guys that, weren't as good last year or rookies last year, a lot of these young players made jumps. Kenny Clark's been a staple, so he's always going to be that good guy in the middle of the defensive line. They added Snacks Harrison, who's a really good vet and actually was showing promise once the Seahawks let go of him, so I don't know why they did that. But he definitely is another good, player to take some snaps. And then the main thing is Darnell Savage made a huge jump this year. Free safety. He was, I think, the top-ranked safety for the second half of the year. And then behind the top-ranked safety was Adrian Amos. So they were number 1 and 2, I believe, in PFF for the second half of the year. So Adrian Amos is playing at all-pro level. I know he didn't get all-pro, but that's because he had, an iffy start to the season. But it's the back end, it's the safeties, Darnell Savage and Adrian Amos. Obviously, like you said, Jai Alexander, him, Howard, and Ramsey are all, top 3 corners in this league. So a lot about having a lockdown corner like that. But also guys like Rashawn Gary, we drafted him last year. He didn't really get much playing time. He Kyler Fackrell had snaps over him, but this year he really took a step up and has actually been playing better than Preston Smith to this moment. So there's a lot of guys that are younger and are stepping up. You have a guy, undrafted free agent this year, Chris Barnes from UCLA, who just came out of nowhere and is pretty much starting at this point. He's a good inside linebacker. So there's a lot of guys stepping up and just creating plays, and the defense has gotten a lot better over the past 6-7 weeks, especially pertaining to the run defense. You saw they held Derrick Henry to 98 yards and pretty much shut down that Titans offense, which was number one at the time. So they're just getting better as the time goes on.
Yeah, in terms of pass rush, who's the guys at Za'Darius? Who's getting the quarterback more? Who would you say are your top 3 pass rushers
on the team? In terms of statistical wise, it's definitely Z at number 1. I'd probably put Gary and Clark are pretty close. I mean, Clark doesn't get a lot of sacks, but he takes a lot of double teams. You would know Aaron Donald's pretty much the same guy, just 10 times better. He's just an insane freak of an athlete. I'm kind of scared about him, but definitely Z at number 1, and then Rashawn Gary, Kenny Clark, and then 4th would probably be Preston Smith. Preston Smith not having a great year. He's done a lot better in the past few weeks, but not nearly on par with what he was in 2019.
Okay. Yeah, that's all good stuff. Good stuff to know, because there's everyone always knows other teams star players, names, but then there's guys that true the fans of the team are you can list every player at every position. You could go on and on and on about them. So I'm always curious about these kind of guys and guys that have stepped up, and I hear a lot about throughout the season. There's this narrative. Each team kind of has a narrative, or player has a narrative, and the Packers, you keep hearing this, and the Rams have been labeled this a lot too. Is they're a finesse team, or they're just not tough enough. And even as the Packers were rolling in the season, that kind of was still a little bit of a narrative that I heard. And I mean, what do you think about when you hear that? Because I mean, you're 13-3. You don't win 13 games in the NFL by just being a bunch of, by being soft. And
exactly.
Especially when you play in cold weather. So I don't know. What's the deal with that?
I mean, it pisses me off because last year there was a ton of media on, worst 13-3 team ever. And rightfully so, they got their ass handed to them in San Fran. But I don't think they were the worst. And then pretty much everyone was saying they were frauds and they were going to digress heavily this year. And they're 13-3 again, and their offense is even better. And arguably their defense is even better than last year as well. So it annoys me. Like you said, you're beating NFL teams at the end of the day. It's not like a win is given to you. You have to fight in this league. You have to really game plan and really, try to win. It's kind of one of those things where I hate when people are always, well, there you have a cupcake schedule. It's they're still NFL teams at the end of the day. And the Packers, I believe, have the best record against NFC playoff teams this year.
Yeah. The Rams had that label at the beginning where, we were beating, at the beginning, the first game we beat Dallas, we beat Philly. And then at the time, coming into the season, we all thought Dallas and Philly would be good and potential playoff teams. And then, but then the narrative turned into you've only beat Dallas and Philly. And, then we beat New York, we beat Washington, and it still was, you're just beating the NFC East and they suck. So, you kind of, we had that label for a while. But then we had some quality wins over good teams. And, I thought about this today, and I'm thinking too far ahead. But if the Rams were to beat Green Bay and then potentially beat the Saints, then they will have beat every team in the NFC playoffs this year. That's probably the kiss of death in terms of looking too far ahead. But like anything we say today, it has an impact on the game.
I keep thinking about it too, because you count your eggs before whatever. But so you think the Saints are going to beat the Buccaneers then?
I think the Saints defense is legit, and I think that that's a tough game. I think it's hard to beat a team 3 times in a row.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly. I kind of want the Bucs to win if the Packers were to win. I just kind of want that rematch, but in Lambeau. I mean, Raymond James Field. Aaron hates it. I want them to beat the Buccaneers and Tom Brady. Like, that's what I want.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what. If Green Bay beats the Rams, I'd want to see Green Bay go to the Super Bowl, because I've always liked Green Bay just because of Brett Favre, and So I really don't. Like, there's teams you play that you hate, you have a dislike for, but Green Bay is not one of those teams. And honestly, most of the Green Bay fans that have been in my comments and stuff are all extremely pleasant. An interesting side note, speaking of Green Bay, my sister used to be in wedding planning and planned Aaron Rodgers' wedding. So she signed an NDA, though, and unfortunately those stories are in the vault. But I had a little, she's like, "Hey, I'm doing a football guy's wedding. Have you heard of this guy, Aaron Rodgers?" And I'm like, yeah, got him on my fantasy team. That's why I had this year. That worked out well. Brett Favre, I think, turned a lot of kind of made a lot of people just like the Packers.
That's me, myself included. That was my childhood, pretty much hero, my idol growing up as an athlete. That's why my favorite number is 4.
Gosh, and you've had it so amazingly nice. Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers is all you know.
I know. And that's why a lot of the times I call it entitled town, not title town. Sometimes fans get really whiny about certain things. And I'm like, look, man, like, you have 2 Hall of Fame quarterbacks back to back. Like, stop being so entitled. You don't even know what it is to, like, have a really bad organization or a really bad GM. And I know I don't either, because I'm still young, but you never should take it for granted.
Yeah, that's true, because, it really just comes down to the quarterback. So, like, if Jordan Love is a bust, whenever he starts, if he's a bust, then it's like, see you later, Green Bay.
I know. I don't know what's going to happen with him, honestly. If Aaron Rodgers continues this play, I could see a Jimmy Garoppolo situation unfold, honestly, because I think they drafted Jordan Love based on what they saw from Aaron last year, which, to be honest, wasn't Aaron Rodgers. It was still a good season. He has a quote he says on Pat McAfee's show, my lowest seasons are some other people's career years. So my low years are some other people's career years, which is true. But I think they drafted Jordan Love on that precedent, and then Aaron comes out and has an MVP season. So I don't think you can move on from Aaron as so long he's playing this level or close to this level. So if that continues on for next 2 or 3 years while he's still under contract, I could see a Jimmy Garoppolo situation unfold and maybe dump Love for a first or second rounder.
Yeah, trade him, or you keep him and you have an Aaron Rodgers situation.
Yeah, literally. But the problem with that is, like, the cap's so different now. So then when Aaron Rodgers is about to retire, is about to finish, how do you sign Jordan Love? Because he's going to be on his 5th-year option or 4th-year deal. You know what I mean? It's a really weird situation now. Back in the day, Aaron Rodgers sat for 3 years. So it's a little different, but
yeah, that's great. Yeah, that was mainly just because Brett Favre was stringing Green Bay along. Like, the only reason they drafted him, you were going to be here. So he was.
Well, it's because Brett Favre retired and then wanted to get back in, but they already had told Aaron that he's their guy. So when Brett retired, they pretty much went, "Okay, Brett, you're retiring. Aaron Rodgers, you're our guy." And then a few months pass, and Brett goes, I want to play again. It's like, no, we already told Aaron Rodgers he's our guy. I'm glad they stuck with their word. I love Brett Favre. I even went to see him play as a Viking and a Jet. I've seen him play on all 3 of his 4 NFL teams. So I loved watching him play. He was, great player to watch, but I'm glad that they stuck with their word and gave that to Aaron Rodgers, because who knows what would have happened if they went back on their word and went, "Okay, Brett, we'll take you back in, Aaron, do whatever." Who knows? You don't know.
Yeah, and I think they were also just, like, done with the back and forth. There's like, we're tired. Every year it's the same thing. It comes down to the wire. Like, you're gone.
Yep.
Sorry.
Favre watch.
Yeah.
Favre watch was always a fun time.
Yeah, and the crazy thing is, like, there's on the flip side for the Rams, there's so much. People are so divided on Jared Goff. And obviously his numbers this year were not the best statistically, but. Being a Rams fan since they were in LA the first time, the majority of years I've been a Rams fan, they've been a bad team. And they've had, aside from Kurt Warner for a couple of years, Mark Bulger for a couple of years, they really haven't had any quarterback. Like, they drafted Sam Bradford, but he didn't have a supporting cast. Like, he was the classic case of here's a rookie quarterback and no one to help him. So Jared Goff comes along, and here he's not a great quarterback, but his record is pretty insane. I think he's one of the winningest, like top two, like him and Tom Brady have like the most wins since 2017. And I know he's on a good team with a good coach, and he's on a good system, but like, you know, there aren't many other quarterbacks still that would in that system play that well. I mean, you know, look at Blake Bortles, or who's the backup, or you just, I know. Like, you look at anyone like from like 20th to 32nd, like quarterback, and, you know, it's kind of slim pickings at the end. So he's at least very solid and very sturdy. And if he just doesn't turn the ball over, that's been his big thing, is just fumbles and not just interceptions where like a cornerback or defensive back jumps the route or makes a good play, or it's a tipped ball or something. But like, he makes some real bonehead brain fart interceptions. Like, where you're just like,
some Favre interceptions.
He throws it to a place where there's three defenders and no offensive player anywhere near, and you're like, what are you doing?
Yeah, that's Favre did that. I mean, didn't Favre have a playoff game against the Rams with 5 interceptions?
Yeah, but Favre also didn't care. He's like, you won by Favre and you died by Favre. That was the beauty of it. It was like, it was wild. It was a wild ride. Yeah, but Jared Goff, the thing is with Favre, though, if he's throwing 20 interceptions, he's throwing 40 touchdowns.
Yes.
Jared Goff threw 20 touchdowns and had 13 interceptions. Yeah. So you just add 4 lost fumbles. He had 20 touchdowns and 17 turnovers.
Yeah.
So if he just doesn't, and there are 3 games this year, if he just doesn't melt down with the turnover, the Rams win. And the Rams are 13-3. Like, honestly, if you put Aaron Rodgers on the Rams, like, they're a Super Bowl favorite.
Oh, 100% with a number 1 defense. Yeah.
Number 1 defense, and like still like Cam Akers and Cooper Kupp and Robert Woods and like the system.
Him and Cooper Kupp it'd probably be like the same situation Devontae's.
Yeah.
Cooper Kupp's very underrated.
Yeah, Cooper Kupp is pretty awesome, and he's questionable for this game, so we'll see.
Yeah, I saw that.
I mean,
so what do you think on the Aaron Donald stuff? Because I heard he has like some rib injury or whatnot.
Yeah,
so
he tore some rib cartilage in the Seattle game, sacking or tackling Russell Wilson.
Yeah, and
he didn't play the rest of the game, but he was on the sideline, and he's off the injury report, I think.
Oh wow.
Limited. So he's going to play, and I think I've heard this somewhere that injuries don't happen to Aaron Donald. Aaron Donald happens to injuries.
That guy's a maniac. I'm actually scared. The one thing that the Packers have going for them is Corey Linsley. You know, he is the number 1 rated center. Elton Jenkins is a very solid left guard.
Yeah.
The problem then lies on the right guard, which is going to end up being I believe Lucas Patrick, who's been decent this year, but definitely the weak point of the offensive line. And obviously with David Bakhtiari out, that's no bueno there. Billy Turner's been a good solid fill-in at left tackle, but it really sucks to lose Bach, especially for a game like this against a team that can rush forward and sit back the rest of their guys and still get pressure.
Yeah, that's the key. That's the key for the Rams. Yeah. And that's what's been great. And I think Bakhtiari going out when he did is such a blow, but at least you have a solid backup. You know,
they have very good depth this year on the offensive line. Probably one of the best depths I've seen in a long time for the Packers in offensive line.
Yeah. The Rams defensive front. What the secret to them is, in addition to Aaron Donald, is that they have really good depth as well. So they just rotate guys in the whole game, so everyone's fresh the whole game. Like in a normal game, you'd see Aaron Donald on the sideline for a good handful of plays. He doesn't play every snap because they want to keep him fresh. And so, I mean, they like guys like Morgan Fox, Sebastian Joseph Day, Michael Brockers, Leonard Floyd. It's just Greg Gaines. They're just rotating guys. Obo Okoronkwo. They're just rotating guys in and out.
Yeah, it seems like a very deep defense there. It seems like they have a lot of athletic guys over there.
Yeah. So what do you think about Jalen Ramsey versus Devontae?
I think it's going to be a good matchup. I think Devontae is the best receiver in the league. I think it's going to be one of those things that everyone's really focusing on right now, but it might not be as big as people think it's going to be. I don't know, but does Ramsey follow or does he stay on one side?
He can, but I think that even if they put him on he's not just restricted to one side. So whatever side Devontae will be on, he'll be on that side.
So he's not a Richard Sherman. Got it.
No, he's not Richard Sherman. And I remember when Aaron Rodgers stayed far away from Richard Sherman.
That was the problem, though. He played scared, and that was the exact problem. Like, they literally they cut off half of their play design just to, like, go to one side of the field. It was ridiculous. That's why they had issues with Seattle.
Yeah, and that I remember that. That was like, what, first game of the year, one of those years?
Oh, yeah, that was terrible. Yeah, that game was so bad.
Yeah, Jalen Ramsey, though, so what has happened in every game where there's like DeAndre Hopkins or DK Metcalf or someone is that Jalen Ramsey plays at least like around 70% of the game on that receiver, and then they'll have zone for the others. And so the Rams, their secondaries, I think, like the best secondary in football, because people were not throwing at Jalen Ramsey. They were throwing at Darius Williams, who has 4 or 5 interceptions this year. Undrafted free agent. Troy Hill, who's been in the nickel, has been great. He's had a couple pick sixes this year.
Seen those, yeah.
Williams, I don't know if you saw that interception where he jumped the screen against Seattle.
Yeah, I actually posted a video because Micah Hyde did a similar thing against the Cowboys in years past when he was a Packer, and it looked identical. It was cool to watch.
Yeah, research. They just do a lot of research on the opposition, and our safeties are actually, our leading tackler is our safety John Johnson. Mm-hmm. So so they'll put so when the first time the Rams played the Seahawks, after the game, they're like, you did a good job on DK. He's like, yeah, I did. And, the 2 catches he had, though, were when we were in zone. So he always wants to point that out. But, I think Devontae will definitely get opportunities without Jalen Ramsey guarding him.
Yeah, I think the main thing is going to be if Marquez Valdes-Scantling can produce, because he's a very inconsistent player. It's either like down here or up here. There's no in between. And he's had 2 games in a row this year where he had 0 catches, and then he's had games where he has like 2 60-yard catches. So and he has very shaky hands. He seems to like to body catch a lot, which is his problem. So I think it's going to come down to a lot of him, Robert Tonyan getting some action, and then also Aaron Jones catching out of the backfield, because he's a very, very, he does really good catching too. Because there's been games this year and last year, I believe, that Aaron Jones has been our leading receiver on the game. So that could happen too.
Yeah, that's a good point, because that's something that we're not hearing a lot of are the running games. Cam Akers and Jones are just kind of getting lost in the shuffle of Aaron Rodgers, Jared Goff, Ramsey, Adams. But I really feel, number one, it's I think if Goff doesn't turn the ball over at all, then that's a great recipe for the Rams to win, because then you're not giving the Packers offense extra opportunities. So it's
whole time of possession too.
Yeah, the time exactly. I think the Packers lead the league in that. And every game for me, the key for the Rams is Goff not turning the ball over. That's just like when he does it, it's a killer. And sometimes when he does it in like he does 2, 3.
Yeah.
So he just
double dips.
But I think it's the offensive lines for both teams. Controlling the opening running lanes and keeping their quarterbacks upright. So I think that's you can tell kind of which ones comes in with the juice and the fire, and we'll see.
The one thing I want to jump on real quick before we get going here is I did some research and I watched some film on the Rams and teams that stopped him, primarily Brian Flores' defenses. And Miami this year, as you remember, pretty much gave Goff a hard time all game, right?
Yeah.
And primarily they ran a cover zero defense. It was, man on the outside, press box, just load the box up and pressure Jared Goff. He seems to have issues under pressure this year. He seems one of the worst quarterbacks under pressure. So I think it's going to come down to if the Packers do that and do it successfully. Mike Pettin doesn't like to do that all the time. Usually we'll see on 3rd and 2, corners 10 yards off the ball. I don't know why. It happens all the time. Matt LaFleur has said he wants to be more aggressive on defense. Hopefully we see that, because I think that's exactly what the Packers have to do to stop the Rams offense, as well as stopping Cam Akers, who's had some decent games in the past 5 weeks.
I think you're right on that. And so they actually did on The Athletic, they did like an analytical breakdown of Jared Goff under pressure. So that Miami game was like his Chernobyl game of the year, where he and Sean McVay both did not really adjust. I mean, McVay did a little bit more, but after that game, they practiced the zero coverage, and I think the following game was against Seattle. The first time we played Seattle, it was after our bye, and we were ready for it because Seattle blitzes a lot. So Goff was he knew where to go. He was like repping against those blitzes. And what they found out is that Jared Goff actually struggles against a 4-man rush more than he does against blitz. I think the thing with the Miami game was like he just was deer in the headlights, shocked and rattled and just done.
Yeah.
But all other occasions, he's actually fared better against the blitz and the 4-man rush when there are more guys in coverage. It's like if his first read isn't there, and the pressure starts getting, then he's like, what do I do? That's bad time. So if I'm Green Bay, I'm stopping the run and having more. I'm not trying to sell out to put pressure on Goff. I'm rushing.
The Packers don't sell out a lot. They don't sell out blitz a lot. Sometimes they'll throw, Chan Sullivan on a nickel blitz, or they'll run a bunch of linebackers all standing up around the line of scrimmage and rush 5, but I rarely ever do you see him like bring the house or anything. And like you said, 4-man rush, a lot of football games can be won if you successfully, do a 4-man rush and win. So that can mean a lot. And that seems like the Rams do that well. So I'm worried on that behalf. Aaron Rodgers gets the ball out very quick. So I'm hoping he continues that trend, because that's how you beat a team that has a good 4-man rush, is just pretty much don't let them get to you. Especially Aaron Donald. I do not want to see him touch or even breathe on Aaron Rodgers. I remember back in that draft, I was like, the Packers weren't drafting near it, but I was like, trade up, get Aaron Donald. I want Aaron Donald. And to this day, I'm still happy about my opinion on him.
Yeah. And that draft is so crazy because there were so many studs in that draft, and the Rams also had the number 2 overall pick, and they took Greg Robinson, like the worst left tackle ever, and with the number 2 overall pick. And so, I mean, like the fact that they could have picked Khalil Mack, Odell Beckham, Jake Matthews, like you just go through that draft. It's insane. Yeah. I think Taylor Lewan.
Was Donald picked at 13?
Yeah, he was like 11 or 13, one of those.
Yeah, I thought it was one of those two.
Yeah.
Because I think the Packers are in the 20s, but still, I was just like, get Aaron Donald, hope he falls or something. I don't know. I just wanted him, and now I'm still do want Aaron Donald. But hey, we have Kenny Clark, who's still good.
But, like he's our Aaron Rodgers, you know what I mean? It's like he's our guy that is
He's your Aaron.
Man, yeah. It's all Aaron. It's all Aaron. I think he sacked Aaron Rodgers in the game 2 years ago. He had at least, I think, 1 sack.
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah, he's the
yes, the good old Ty Montgomery game.
Ty Montgomery was cut like 2 hours later.
I'm actually friends with Ty, and there's some different information into that, but I can't speak on it.
Yeah. I mean, hey, don't get me wrong. I'm a big fan of Ty Montgomery.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that was great. That game was great.
Yeah.
2 minutes to go. Packers having momentum. Yeah.
Down by 2. Get a field goal for the win, of course. Yep. But nope, didn't even get the chance.
Speaking of field goals, so you got Mason Crosby. We've got Matt Gay, who we picked up like 2 months ago and has been lights out, 30 points in the last 3 weeks. But I don't know about Matt Gay in cold weather. So this is going to be granted, I think people are saying that the game in Seattle last week was only like 7 or 9 degrees warmer than the game coming up. So it's not like
it's going to be around 32. We're getting the Green Bay's getting a little snow tomorrow. It's not going to hold up till game time. So it's going to be a little cold. It's not going to be like 12 degrees or anything. It's going to be like 30s. And then obviously temperatures drop as the game goes on. You might hit into the upper 20s by the end of the game. But yeah, I'm excited for it. I really am. I think it's going to be a great game.
Yeah, and one last question for you. What about your punting team? What about that?
Outside of Mason Crosby, the special teams is hot garbage. 31st in the league.
Ooh, all right.
Yeah. We have Tavon Austin, so watch out.
Hey, we know all about Tavon.
I'm just hoping that puts a spark under his ass. For some reason, he shows up like his old high school and college highlights on YouTube.
even Rams, like he as a returner for the Rams, he fumbled, yeah. But he had some juice.
He fumbled a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, I mean that's just Tavon. That's what he does.
Yeah.
That's what he does. Yeah, our special teams outside of Matt Gay now haven't been great either. I mean, Johnny Hekker is a really good punter, but our return and our coverage, not the best.
Ours are garbage. Really bad.
This game can be won in the punting game.
J.K. Scott looks about no older than 14 years old if you look at him. He's a very decent punter. He has great games, and then he has really bad games. So it's very shaky. Mason Crosby is nothing but clutch, 100% on the year, which is they scored. Aaron Rodgers threw more touchdowns than the Packers punted.
Ooh,
so
yeah,
48 touchdowns to 46 punts.
That's insane. Like, what the craziest thing to me is about Aaron Rodgers this year is the 4 or 5 interceptions.
That's what he does.
But that's from a Jared Goff perspective, I'm just like, Jared Goff had 3 times as many interceptions and less than half of the touchdowns.
That's the beauty of Aaron. I mean, you just feel so comfortable with the offense not turning over the ball unless it's some freak fumble or a tipped ball, because very rarely does Aaron throw an interception to the guy. Obviously in Tampa Bay he threw 2. It's just a weird game. Mm-hmm. He has his off games, but it's very rare that the Packers turn over the ball. So like I said, it's going to come down to the Packers, doing what they do on offense and hopefully pressuring and shutting down Cam Akers and Jared Goff and hopefully containing Aaron Donald.
Okay, yeah. So Green Bay loses this game if...
I would say Green Bay loses this game if Aaron Rodgers starts getting flustered. He seems to have somewhat of an issue. The Packers offense has somewhat of an issue with physical, good defenses. Tampa Bay, San Fran, those type of just good. They have a bunch of athletes, right? So if he gets flustered, that's going to be a problem. But I just don't see him getting flustered in Green Bay with the way he's been playing and how calm he's been all year. So as long as he doesn't have a Tampa Bay game, I think he should be all right.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's Aaron Rodgers, right?
Exactly. Like I said, you can't bet against him. I mean, I wouldn't.
Yeah. Well, I'm picking the Rams.
Yeah.
But
what do you have as a score? Do you have a score?
No, I mean, I'm terrible with scores, and I'm just gonna. Do you have a score? If you have one,
I do.
Okay. What do you got?
So I believe the Rams have lost every game that the other team has scored over 20 points. You can correct me if I'm wrong. I think I saw that somewhere. So I'm going 28-17. Green Bay.
I think the Rams beat Tampa Bay and they scored in the 20s. But,
okay. I don't. Maybe it was they lost everyone but one game. I saw something about 20 points. I don't know the exact stats, so of course fact check me or whatever.
But you're that's pretty spot on. So you said 28-17?
17. Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So the Rams would have 2 touchdowns and a field goal. You guys would have 3 touchdowns and 2 field goals. Okay. I'm going to go with the Rams at, let's see here. I say 23 and the Packers 21.
Okay, close game. Oh, was that the score? No, it wasn't that the score of the game. What was the score of the game a few years ago? I know Rams won by 2.
28-13. 28-30 or 29-27 or something like that.
I think it was 28-30. I'm just getting triggered by the 2-point differential there.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't know if the Rams are going to put up many touchdowns.
Yeah.
I think 2 touchdowns is solid. And then maybe 3 field goals.
Okay. So. I mean, I'm injured. Like I said, I'm very hype. I had to sit back and watch other games for a week, so hopefully the Packers aren't rusty or anything, and we get a good game, and we watch some good football tomorrow.
Yeah, you guys are healthy. So I mean, I wish we had a up and
outside of Bakhtiari, yes.
Yeah, outside of Bakhtiari, that's right. But all the little dings and dents from everyone else got a week to heal up. So it'll be a really good game. And like I said, I have no hate for the Packers, so it'll be bittersweet if the Rams lose. Oh, it'll suck. What am I talking about? It'll suck. But
I would rather lose to the Rams than, say, the Buccaneers or the Saints. Yeah. And especially if Seattle was still in it, definitely I can't stand that. But obviously, for obvious reasons, 2014.
Okay. As a Packers fan, which team is your least favorite team?
Outside of division or just
like
entirely?
Overall.
In terms of fans, definitely Vikings. I mean, Bears is the biggest rival, but they're bad, but they kind of have respect because the history. But Vikings fans are just terrible. All they do is talk crap and never back it up. And they're last offseason, Kirk Cousins is the best quarterback in NFC North. Blah 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 blah. Whatever. Outside of division, in terms of the past 10 years, definitely Seattle.
Yep.
But yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
I can.
So we share a common enemy. Oh gosh, I'm a Wisconsin Badger fan, but Russell Wilson, only played there for a year. I don't know, something about that NFC Championship game where Clay Matthews, I considered he 100% gave him a concussion and he drank his spiritual water or whatever and came back. And yeah, I don't know. Something about Russell Wilson always irks me.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. Now Jamal Adams is Rams' public enemy number one.
He was pissing me off. I was about to tweet something or say something. I was like, dude, this dude needs to get cracked. Someone needs to light this dude up. I was watching the game and it was pissing me off. I was like, okay, you're a good player. You don't have to flaunt every single time and hit defenseless people every single time. It's crazy.
Yeah. And with Seattle, in the last 3 years, especially, they have really done a lot of hits to the heads of Rams players and not one has been called. It's crazy. And I don't know what it is. And the fact that it was Jamal Adams, Jamal Adams, I don't know if you saw the post-game stuff with Jared Goff, but when Seattle beat the Rams 2 weeks before and won the division, Jamal Adams was at the post-game podium with the cigar. He's like, oh yeah, the playoffs, NFC.
Oh my God.
And the Rams players saw that. And when the Rams beat the Cardinals the week after, and the reporter said to AD, on the field, hey, you're going to play Seattle now in the first round of the playoffs. And AD said, that's what we want. That's exactly what we want. So the Rams were and then
they had that circle. They wanted that.
Yeah. And Jamal Adams, the first 7 of the first 12 passes the Rams threw were targeted at Jamal Adams. So they wanted to put him in coverage, and they completed 78 yards. So, and then Jared Goff after the game said, we saw how they were smoking cigars, and they can keep that NFC West champion merchandise. When they go to Cancun.
Nice. Good old Cal quarterbacks. Gotta love them.
Oh, yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, it's crazy.
Exactly.
In this game, there's going to be a Cal quarterback destined for the Hall of Fame, and the other one's Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Well, cool. Yeah, I think it's a wrap. Thank you so much for doing this collaboration.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me.
And everyone, if you get a chance, I'll let you tell everyone where to go.
Well, just search Basaraski Productions or even just Basaraski on YouTube. You can find me on Twitter at the same handle. If you ever want to watch Packers highlights, which I don't know if you will, but I do make those, and I also do some game analysis. So if you want to come check me out, come check me out. Of course, obviously, if you're from my channel, go sub to Trent and check out his content because he shows a lot of promise for the Rams community, and I feel like there's not a lot of good news out there for the Rams. So he does it well.
Yeah, thank you. And I'll put all the links for Basaraski in the description below, so you can find him. And the highlight videos he does are really slick. So I actually kind of went down that rabbit hole the day, and it's good stuff. So, anyways,
thank you.
Thanks so much. Good talking to you. And yeah, we'll see each other after the game.
All right. Thanks for having me. Have a good one.